Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something a bit different. We're jumping into the symbolic origins of two letters you use every day, U and O. Now, the sources we have, they're not your typical articles. They're actually descriptions, really detailed ones of this symbolic animation. Our goal here is to kind of unpack the connections this animation draws, between basic needs, sound, shape, even prayer. It's surprisingly poetic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's an intriguing way to look at things, isn't it? It makes you think differently about how language, how meaning might actually bubble up from these really fundamental human moments, experiences.
Yeah, I found the imagery itself just immediately gripping. So let's paint the picture from the source. Imagine this huge sun-baked desert, just endless golden dunes, right? Under this relentless sun. And then there's this figure, a man, he's mute, clearly exhausted and really dehydrated, cracked lips stumbling through the sand.
That image really hits you with this raw vulnerability, doesn't it? It just highlights that basic, inescapable human need for water, especially somewhere so harsh you feel that desperation.
Totally. And he can't speak, so his plea is silent. He lifts his hands, they're trembling, and he cups them together
Yeah.
right in front of his mouth, like a praying shape,
Oh.
The amen gesture, begging for water. And here's where it gets really interesting visually. The source says, from the side, those cupped hands. They clearly form the shape of a letter U, the curve, the hollow space.
Right, it's a very distinct shape. And the source connects that visual directly to a sound.
Yeah.
As he's making this silent plea, his throat makes his involuntary sound. This long oh sort of echoes out. And the source explicitly calls it the symbolic birth of the U sound linked to the praying hand shape. It's this primal link, like you said, yearning and supplication creating a sound, a shape.
Wow. Yeah, that connection. The sound and the shape just emerging right out of that desperate need. That really stuck with me. Okay, so he makes this U plea. Then what happens?
Well, in response, another figure appears. The animation shows someone compassionate holding a water container. They step closer to the man.
Okay. So help arrives.
Exactly. And it's described as an act of mercy. This figure slowly pours water from above right into the mute man's cupped U-shaped hands.
And then comes the second letter, right? The O. How does that form?
Yeah, so as the water flows down, it fills the hollow space in his palms. The source describes how, if you look down from above, the water pooling there naturally forms the shape of an O, like a perfect shimmering circle of water.
A ring of life held right there in his hands. That's quite the image.
It really is. And connecting it all, the source basically says this whole sequence, it symbolizes this sacred link between the human plea for life, the U shape, the sound, and the actual life-giving water, the O shape,
Wow.
both arising from, prayer and mercy.
So it's more than just a story about letters. It's a whole symbolic narrative. The source mentions things like warm lighting, golden hour, ambient wind, spiritual music. It's all meant to emphasize something deeper. So what's the takeaway for us, for you, the listener? How does this frame our relationship with, say, nature language itself?
That's the big question, isn't it? How does this symbolic origin story present language? The animation is framed as showing, timeless wisdom, the origin of letters, sounds, and the gift of water. It ends with him finally drinking, gratefully. The source calls the whole scene a cradle of human sound, shape, prayer, and water. It really pushes you to think that maybe even abstract things like letters aren't just invented. Maybe they stem from these really fundamental, primal, physical human experiences. Need, prayer, receiving.
Yeah, it suggests a much deeper root for language than we might usually consider. Not just intellectual, but almost instinctual. It's a fascinating deep dive showing that, profound meaning can pop up in really unexpected ways, even in the shapes of letters we write every day or the sounds our bodies make. It's a reminder, I guess, that simple gestures, basic needs, they can hold a lot of symbolic weight.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe as you go through your day, you think about other common things, sounds, shapes, gestures around us. How many might hold their own ancient unspoken stories about being human if we just, look closely enough?